Hey, and welcome to Lemon Drops, brought to you by the Smoky Lemon crew. Well, we're talking branding, marketing, and everything in between. So grab a coffee, sit back, and let's drop in. Welcome to our next instalment of Lemon Drops. And with me today, we've got the big cheese back.
Guess who's back?
Mandy's back.
Back again.
So, of course, Mandy McGregor, owner-operator of Smoky Lemon, the big cheese. He was the very first person we podcasted with because we just wanted to get one done. And look at how far we've come.
We've just dropped in, haven't we?
We've dropped in with some new branding and we are potting, baby. Yeah, we've got quite a few episodes under our belt now. Yeah.
It's great. It's really good.
Yeah. We learned a new technique in one of our podcasts about the clapping, remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah, that was with Liz Fry, the enoughness coach.
Yes.
And like if you clap hard out for 10 seconds, which I think peaked the mic when we did it with her. But we implemented that yesterday in the office, didn't we?
Actually, it was outside of the car park.
Yeah, it was.
To be fair.
Yeah, it was.
Yes,
yeah,
it was great.
They heard it in the office. Yeah. So at any point, if you feel stressed, we'll just clap for 10 seconds, okay? Because we all know this isn't Mandy's idea of fun.
No, it's not.
No.
Get there.
Yeah, we will. And so we thought we'd get you on today, Mens, to just talk a little bit about marketing.
Sure.
It's pretty tough out there at the minute.
It is.
Yeah.
It's hard.
For businesses, and so it's hard to spend, but in order to make money, you got to spend money. It's that vicious cycle.
Yeah, it is. And I think that, everyone has come into 2025, the survive to 25 and things have kind of gone, oh, yeah, we're all good. And then suddenly now it's kind of going back down again. It's what we've noticed and so on. And there's only, you can tell this is happening because the big media companies are discounting all their rates and stuff, which is a good time to try and capitalize on that if you've got the financial backing to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
Because you get some really good deals that you can't get when things are really pumping. So, but for the everyday business, it's pretty tricky at the moment.
Yeah, so we thought we'd sort of talk about some different avenues that Smoky Lemon could offer, but just in your in the business realm, some of your thoughts on marketing and things. So let's start with social media. It's a big beast, isn't it?
It is, and people usually just think of social media as Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and so on, but there's so many other platforms that you can use. I would say LinkedIn is a social media platform for business, and you can term it that way. There's a whole bunch of other networks and groups that you can kind of connect with in social media. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but when you go into Facebook now, if you look and scroll through like every 4 or 5 paid ads, then you get to see your own like a non-paid ad. It's like, how do you actually get cut through on something that is so saturated with paid ads, and you're actually looking for genuine real content?
Yes, true. Like as a scroller to look for stuff.
As a user, you just want to see what your friends have been up to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like David hasn't been on my feed for a little while, that sort of thing. Yeah.
And so that's it's always tricky to try and cut through that social media noise and get any traction, especially at the moment. So yeah.
What do you think the biggest mistake companies can make on social media?
Probably first thing is being inconsistent, like going hardcore, doing a lot of posts and then doing nothing. When people are researching businesses to see if they want to engage in them, they often look at their social feeds as well and see, and if something hasn't been updated for a couple of months or something, it's like, or even a year, and this happens a lot, then it's like, oh, well, are these guys engaged? And people make judgment calls on that, whether that's right or wrong is neither here nor there, but that's how people perceive whether someone's active in the industry.
So you could avoid that by being more consistent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing. Also, not relying on people. People are just not going to see your posts. Don't rely on Facebook and Insta. Look at other avenues.
Yeah.
Look at other network groups as well. Social media, there's just too many different what's the word? so many variables, and
Variables.
it's just so hard to cut in. And unless you've got absolutely outstanding, unique content or anything, it's really hard to get through.
As a business owner, do you find LinkedIn provides you with leads sometimes?
Not directly for me personally, in the sense that I don't know what comes necessarily from LinkedIn.
It's
We
awareness.
Yeah, it's awareness and getting yourself out there, and putting things out on LinkedIn is you get engagement from other business
Yes.
people, which is really nice, and sometimes quite validating as well. So
True.
when you want to put something out that you feel passionate about and so on. And it's also a really good platform, like, to share what you have done for other businesses, because
Yes.
that's really the key thing for a company like us. We
Yes.
want to show, hey, this is something really cool that we've done
Yeah.
to help improve the life of this company. So yeah, so I think LinkedIn is good for that, but whether we get leads or not, you just don't know. And unless you're on the phone, or you're every time you talk to someone, you
Yeah.
go, "How did you find us?"
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well,
Yeah.
how do you know?
Yeah.
You can look at all the metrics
Yeah.
in the world, but you've got to listen and be conscious about
Yeah.
what's going on in your environment, really. So,
Very true.
yeah.
Yeah. Um. So we've started up podcasting.
Yeah.
And we started basically when we were first back in the office in January. So, why do you think it's such an effective medium, podcasting, for businesses to connect with their audience?
I think that, again, as I said before, that the media is saturated in the mainstream platforms, right? And so podcasting is another avenue that doesn't have as much reach or traction as social media, other platforms. And then with that is you've got a better chance of getting cut through. From my personal perspective, if I'm when I used to go to the gym, because, like, let's face it, I'm not going anymore.
Neither.
Um,
Still paying for it though.
yeah,
$35 a week.
yeah,
Thank you very much.
yeah, I know. We're in the wrong job.
Yeah.
But seriously, the if you're at the gym, or if you are driving a long distance and stuff, you can put on a podcast, because everyone is time poor.
Yeah.
And it either helps pass the time, or it's something you're really interested in, and you get food for thought while you're driving or while you're at the gym. Or if you're really, if you can't sleep, just put a podcast of Mandy talking on.
You'll be away.
Job done. And so that, I think that's a really important different avenue.
Yes.
And the other thing about podcasts, that I'm sitting here totally uncomfortable, and I'm way out of my depth in that, but I can be myself.
Yes.
And I know that this is how it's going to be.
Yeah. It's who you are.
And it's who I am. And so for that as well, if there's, because you've got your visual and your audio podcasts. So from that point of view, people get to know the personality of the person that is actually that they want to work with.
It's genuine.
Yeah, absolutely. So you get a good feel for people. And yeah, I think that's just a really good way to get podcasts out there.
Absolutely.
And really, I mean, look, just push everyone's boundaries
Yeah.
in terms of doing it.
And I think it's a good way of storytelling for a business as well.
100%.
Because you get that period of time, like our podcasts are between 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
To really share the story of you, or what you can offer, or what your business does, and the history, and yeah.
Actually, back in the day, when back in my day,
when Adam was a cowboy.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I was still a cowboy. You used to sit down and you have a conversation with people,
Yes.
or you wanted to know something, so you'd ring them up and you'd have a conversation. And in this day and age, that's email, it's looking on social media and commenting.
Yeah.
There's no interaction with that. And so when you're doing a podcast as well, you're actually getting, like you say, your whole story across, and people can actually sit and listen to it.
It's good, solid conversations.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah. So for businesses interested in starting a podcast, or doing a podcast with us, first step, really?
I think talk to you.
Yeah.
Talk to Anna.
Over here. Yeah.
That's the first thing. We're really, it's important, and what I've noticed is, Anna, you give me feedback about, oh, this is how we're gonna do it.
Mm.
Some instructions, or just, and you make people feel really comfortable. So,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be doing it if you weren't here. I'm not gonna lie.
Brilliant. That's why you're paying me to be here. Yeah. And I think because we provide the questions prior, so you have a
Yeah.
chance to think about them
Yeah.
and put your own input in. And
Absolutely.
so when you come and sit in the podcast room, what I'm talking with you about is not the first time you're hearing it.
Absolutely.
So you feel confident going into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've got time to think, and yeah, you just. I think having those questions is really important.
Mm.
Also, if you're really uncomfortable about doing a podcast which has video, we can do it with just audio.
Absolutely.
No drama.
Yeah. Easier for our cameraman.
Well, that's true. Amen. And and also, if you do want to push your own boundaries as well, it doesn't hurt, to sit in front of your actual phone and record yourself.
Yeah.
And get used to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think talking to you, see Smoky Lemon and talk to Anna.
Yeah.
And we can talk you through the options.
Because we've got a podcast package, a special introductory package going at the moment too, just so you know.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'd love to do one with you. So, and it's all about building a stronger connection with your audience, with your market. They can learn a little bit more about you. Like, it's questions that your customers may have had, but how do they find the time to ask you that, So they might learn through the podcast about you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to, you never get nothing out of anything.
Yeah,
So
that's right. Yeah.
if you're like, I'm sitting here uncomfortable, as I said, but I'll learn something about you by the time this podcast is
about me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to ask at the end. Yeah. Speaking broader marketing,
Yes.
for small businesses or startups, what would be your top 3 tips? Should we go with 3 for improving their marketing efforts without, obviously, if you're starting off, you don't have a lot of capital behind you, so without breaking the bank?
In this climate, it is really looking at your existing customer base. It's hard to get new clients. It's easy to get to work with existing, and retaining that connection and everything with them. And so newsletters. You can do a newsletter yourself and send it out. Please don't do it just from an email and CC everyone in. That is illegal.
Okay,
Other thing.
FYI.
Okay.
Because we do newsletters for Smoky Lemon, but
We
also
do.
for some clients.
Absolutely.
Are they effective?
They are, because these people have already engaged with our clients or with Smoky Lemon, and so they're not getting a cold call, I suppose, and so they already have a little bit of an investment in the brand and the company, and so they're more likely to read what you're up to and look at and comment on things, so they're less likely to go to spam and be discarded.
Right.
Really.
Yeah. Okay.
So regular communication without bombarding people is really key with the people in your network, and don't be afraid to actually ask them to refer you. There's nothing actually wrong with that if they feel comfortable doing it, and people will or they won't, and that's fine. Everyone's got their own thoughts on that.
So existing database, newsletters, and referrals.
But also there's a lot of stuff you can do yourself. So keeping your, as I say, social media platforms up to date, you can do all of this yourself. You can also take a look at your website and keep that up to date. Keep it current. There's nothing worse than an out-of-date website, and people, again, they're looking at your website to see what you're up to, how regular you are keeping it up to date. Is it too out of date?
What makes a website out of date?
Content, usually. If you've got, I've got a news or blog section and I haven't updated it for a year,
right,
that's a sure sign.
Okay. Yeah.
Or we have been in business for since 1996, and now we're in 2025, and so, or 2023, sorry. And
right.
it's like, so you haven't updated this content, or that someone has left and they're still on the website, and so on. So keeping the content fresh is really going to help with your organic rankings, and the really important thing from a business point of view is to sit in the seat of your user.
Right.
Do not sit in the seat of yourself while you're doing it, because you've got to understand what your audience needs to know, not what you're expecting to tell them
Right.
as well. So, you might use terminology that goes into, and some really complex things, and people will be like, oh, it's way over my head.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, just put yourself in the user's shoes. What do I need to know about this company if I didn't know anything about it? So
And then the content in the website is to make sure you can include enough SEOs, search engine optimization words.
yes, yep. So yeah, you use again storytelling as well. So explaining who you are, what you do, how you can help, answering those questions. When you do a search in Google and how do I do this, and you get the people also asked
Yes,
this.
yes, yeah.
Look at those and
Yep.
go, oh, okay, well I can answer those on my website.
Right.
So I'm going to help myself get higher ranked.
So you
for
pop up
those.
close to the top.
That's it.
Yeah.
So there's those sorts of things. There's Google Business Profile you can manage yourself as well. Put updates on there because your maps come up quite high on the search rankings as well. And the other thing that you can do that is not costing you anything other than time, because all of this does take time, is actually get out and talk to people.
Yes.
Go and network. Go to BA5s and
The breakfast ones and yeah.
BNI. Go and talk to people and be out there, and that doesn't cost anything.
Because sometimes the best opportunities aren't ones that will be advertised. They're
That's
ones you
right.
come across.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't sit back and wait for work to come to you. You have to turn around. You have to go and get it. So
especially if you've got staff, that
absolutely.
pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So putting yourself out there.
Okay. What do you think the future holds for like marketing and branding and social media?
What do I think the future holds? I think it is going to get harder and harder. Um,
Like tools or trends that we should start preparing for?
I mean, obviously AI is going to change, or is changing everything. So from a digital space, getting across AI to a certain level, you need to be across it.
Yeah.
Like you need to be keeping up with that. Video is going to be, or is mainstream. Always has been, but
short
it's
form and
short form, long form.
Which the beauty about our podcast is part of our package is 2 to 3 snippets,
Yes.
short form,
Yep.
that you could take from the podcast and use for your marketing too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So video, AI, and I thought, just tools. I mean, everything changes so quickly. So you just gotta be across it. And put some time or thinking into it, really.
Because you've been in the game for over 20 years at Smoky Lemon, but you're still training yourself. Like you still do like online seminars and
yes, definitely have to. Otherwise, we'd be far, far behind and stuff. And I think everything in it, like there's been a lot of change from a what people are expecting point of view, I guess, over that time in terms of complexity of stuff. Like things are getting simpler in terms of messaging, in terms of expectation and stuff on one hand, and then on the other, it's getting worse. But as an example, we used to build really complicated websites that had integrations and so on. We still can do that, but it's really only the big corporates that are doing that now.
What are integrations?
So like plugging in third-party platforms. So if you have an inventory management software, for example, you might want to put that into your website. So then if you have, say, lots of businesses that log in and need to see the pricing of something or order, so that interface is the gap is being bridged between the complexity there. But then having said that too, there's also the idea that we need to make things as simple as possible, because again, people are time poor. And they just need stuff done now because we're expected to do more and more and more in the same space of time. Really. And time doesn't change.
No.
There's no more extra time.
It's the one thing that's certain.
That's it. Yeah.
Means, tell us, when people visit a website or see a brand for the first time, what is it that makes them stay or leave?
I think that it is what is visually appealing to them. So, everyone has their own take on what's a good designer or something. So, what resonates with the person when they land on the site or on the brand is the first thing that if they feel comfortable and if they like the look of the brand because that's their kind of style, then you've already got a kind of an in on that. If the brand's out of date, the perception is that, oh, these guys are not progressive, and therefore, are they still operating, in a way that we want to be working with people,
Yeah.
and so on.
Are they still successful?
Are they successful? Yeah. I guess if they're still standing, they're successful in this day and age. That's what I think.
100% big ups to you.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Some brands don't change or they change very slightly, and like McDonald's and so on. But then that's a massively international brand that you're just never going to get away from.
It's so recognized.
Cola,
Yeah.
those ones. But when it's a sort of a regional or a national brand, that you have to be keeping up with that. Sometimes it might be just the color that people just like or they don't like.
Yeah, right.
Why would you have purple on your brand or pink? Oh,
Hello.
Yeah. So you're either going to like it or you're not,
And I guess the website has to be user friendly too, right?
100%, yes.
Because
if you cannot get into it, or you don't know your way around, or it's not easy to navigate.
Or it's not clear enough and giving you the first step in explanations. Yeah.
And you've got 3 seconds to make an impact, and if it gels with the person because if you can see the personality, I suppose, as well of the brand by their branding, by their website, or what they do out in the world, that's how how people align themselves with that. And then it comes down to, that's for people that don't know the people in the brand, and then it comes down to actually getting to know the people and then checking out that that's actually where you want to be.
That's right.
And who you want to work with.
And something else to consider with Smoky Lemon is while we can build and manage websites, we can just build a website so it's eye-catching and is going to keep the people staying, and then give it off over to the client to
100%.
do updates and things
absolutely.
with training.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, even we don't even have to build the website as well. Like if you've got a website that you need some love, we can help maintain it. We're here as a support company as well as a brand and creative agency.
The scope's broad as to how much work you to do or don't have to get us to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in this climate, the support thing is quite important because the funds are limited. Everyone is watching when they're spending, and so if you can help someone to get across to the next step where they don't have to spend $1 billion to do it, and it's a win all around. Really,
we're here for it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's the best thing about this job is watching people succeed.
Yeah.
And so going, oh well, look, they've just secured this and those. I was like, that's why you do it.
They're all like your own, like your babies in a way.
Yeah.
Mummy Mandy will look after you.
We want the best. We want to see you succeed.
Absolutely. So, in your opinion, what social media platforms should brands prioritize at the moment this year to reach their target audience?
Platforms are dependent on who you're trying to attract. And if your target audience is business owners, nationwide predominantly, LinkedIn is always good for that. If you're doing like thought leadership type stuff, that's always a good place to go.
And I guess it comes down to the generation of their target market too.
100%.
Because we've done quite a bit of research into what generations use what social media as well. Yeah,
absolutely. And also thinking about so you may have a 35 plus, demographic, but your future state, like
Mm.
succession, you have to start working on the people, the younger ones,
True.
because it takes time now to really get someone to love a brand or to be aligned with a brand. And so then it's like, well, where do you start doing Snapchat and stuff? What, where's that next level down, so that you've got a continual future feed of work as well. So it's not thinking about just now.
Yeah.
It's thinking about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
That and post as well.
Yeah.
So those sorts of things are where you sit down with Nina and yourself and Mandy and everything, and
We're
your
the marketing
partner.
department.
Yes, the marketing jet. And just like nut out like who is your audience and stuff, and getting some clarity around that. And what that actually does too is, if someone presents you with an opportunity, like let's say, hey, we got a really cool discounted airport, billboard short for you, and we go, my demographic is, someone out of region. That's just not you can refer back to this plan and you go, doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Why would I want to spend that money? As good as that deal is, but they're not in my wheelhouse. They're not the people I'm trying to attract. So it makes those decisions a lot easier
to filter out what you do and don't need.
Absolutely. So then you're funneling the money into things that are actually going to be beneficial. The most important thing about that too is also making sure that you actually measure it.
Yes.
Because if you do not measure it, you don't know.
And a lot of what we do via social media is measurable, as opposed to other forms of advertising where you can't measure that.
That's right. Radio. Can you measure radio, Anna?
No, I don't think you can.
They say you can. Can you measure TV? Not really.
No.
They can tell you how many eyeballs.
Or how many listeners, or how many subscriptions to the newspaper.
Exactly.
But you don't know how many looked at your thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
nothing against.
That's right. There's nothing against any of those.
Yeah.
They have their place for,
for
the right people and right demographic. But if you can measure stuff, and it's always like, what's the call to action? Do we need a lead? Are we looking for a lead? Are we looking for a sale? Are we just looking for sort of brand awareness?
And that's something you always make sure is all the marketing we do always has a call to action for our clients. Yeah.
We want people to do something with what we've put out there for them. So, yeah.
Well, that's, some good tips there, Mandy.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. You did well. I feel like the audience should be now clapping behind.
We're going to do the happy clap.
Shall we? Just even.
That's a long time.
I get going.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, this is for you. Let's fry. The enoughness coach. It's a good trick though. Like honestly, if you're feeling peaked out, like at work, because work can be stressful,
True.
or for staff who just like haven't got that, they just can't quite click into it. Stop and clap for 10 seconds. Heart out. Yeah.
Job done.
Well, thank you for coming on this podcast, Mandy. We appreciate your insights.
No problem.
It's really neat. I was just saying to you off camera before, we'll say it to camera too. When we get you talking, like your passion is still so evident in the industry you've crafted your way into.
Thanks. It is, yeah. I still get out of bed and most days love it.
She still gets out of bed.
It's a good start.
Yeah.
It's a great challenge.
Awesome. Well,
thank you.
Yeah, stay tuned for our next edition on our podcast. And remember, if you wanted to have a podcast with me in the hot seat where Mandy is, we'll do it. We'd love to hear from you. Ka kite anō.